Hi everyone, welcome back to the Property Finance Podcast. And today I want to talk about a rundown of 2024 and kind of what I predict is going to happen in 2025. So 2024 has been a bit of a roller coaster year for us. We, as with many brokerages, have had sort of peaks and troughs as the Bank of England base rate has moved up, down, left, right, whichever way it decides to go. And we've kind of had to move with a lot of changing economic and political instability. So it's been a bit of a rollercoaster year. That being said, we've actually had our record year this year. So we've had, I think off the top of my head, it's about 150% growth this year, which for a small team of four has been rather exceptional, I think. And our biggest deal, or our biggest set of deals this year, is one that actually made the press recently, which was 3 deals in 3 days, which totaled, I think, 19.6 million. So again, for a team of 4 of us, delivering £19.5 million in 3 days was pretty incredible, and hence it made the press. So in terms of our year as a business, it's been pretty incredible towards the end of it. And for the first time in probably a fair few years, I'm actually sitting down and thinking, right, how can I scale, grow, and move this business forward? Because we've had a bit of a stagnant period, I think is probably fair to say, since COVID, where we had COVID, we've had the Ukraine war, we've had Liz Truss and her incredible view and approach to economics, and her ability to crumble an entire economy in the space of a couple of weeks. So that obviously had a massive effect on us as well. We've had obviously increased build costs for developers, which has then in turn reduced the number of developers who are out there building. We've had changes of government, I don't know how many times since COVID. So we've had about 3 different prime ministers from the Conservatives, and obviously now we're into a Labour government as well. So there's been a lot of moving parts that we've had to compete with. So as a business, we have, to be honest, just ridden the wave a little bit. We've not really focused on growth. We've not really reduced the size of the team. We've not really done much of anything. We've kind of stayed the same, just kept plodding on with everything, and just trying to do the best we can with the team we've got. So moving into 2025, obviously that's going to change. We've now got the ability to think about growth, to think about moving on to our next step of what we do as a business. And I'm pretty excited for that. And speaking to a lot of developers, they seem to be also thinking the same as well. They seem to be thinking about growth and what they can do moving forward as well. And obviously with Labour's new approach to house building, and obviously at the point of recording this, they've just talked about merging councils together to help with easing some of the pressure of moving forward, planning permission, etc. I think that will make a big difference in 2025. I think there will be a real push from Labour, especially, to deliver at least one thing on their manifesto, which is this 120,000 house shortfall that they want to try and eat into. So I think there'll be a big push in 2025, and that's probably my biggest prediction for 2025, is that I think we will see a lot of new build development. I think for the first time in a long time, some confidence is coming back into the market. Developers are feeling a bit more confident. There's an abundance of money available, as there has been for the last few years. People want to lend. Private investors want to lend. They want to earn more than what they're earning in the bank. They've been spoilt by the Bank of England base rates recently, hitting 4.755, etc. They've had some decent returns on their savings. However, with the prediction that in 2025 we're going to see potentially 4 drops, I think we might see that base rate drop down to maybe 4, maybe even into the 3s. All of a sudden, it's not as appealing as it was. And obviously with Starling Bank deciding that they're no longer going to pay interest on personal bank accounts, and there's a few other banks that are following suit as well, I think we're going to see a lot of private investors decide that they want to move their money elsewhere and get a better return. So I think for the first time in a long time, there's going to be an abundance of equity available. And obviously as interest rates drop down, there'll be more people refinancing. They may be releasing money. Again, they're going to look for somewhere to put that money as well. On top of that, I think we're going to see a real push for HMOs again. So there's been a bit of a lull, I would say, in the HMO market over the last few years. And I think there's going to be a real push back into that now. SA seems to have quietened down again as well. So again, there was a real push for service accommodation properties as we came out of COVID, or as we were in COVID, sorry, where people were looking for staycations. They didn't really want to go abroad, couldn't go abroad. So all of a sudden there's a sudden push for these stay-at-home apartments, lodges, whatever you want to call them. So I think service accommodation is kind of lulled off again a little bit, with obviously people going abroad again, more money, ability to go on holidays. I think the where there may be a market is in two places for service accommodation. So the first would be the contractor market, because obviously if there's more new build development, there's going to be more contractors around. Obviously, if there's larger scale commercial developments, there's going to be more contractors around as well. And then the other thing potentially as well with service accommodation is going to be looking at housing associations. So you may have something where you find a housing association, they want to come in and rent rooms by the night, for example, if they've got maybe one I was speaking about earlier today actually was where someone's looking at, they've got a block of 10 apartments and they're looking at renting those on an SA basis to doctors who are coming from abroad. So doctors, nurses coming from abroad, they need to be housed for maybe 1 to 3 months while they're doing their initial training. So again, there's a massive market there potentially where Labour are trying to obviously pick up the NHS and kind of get it back on its feet, if you like. So I think there's going to be an abundance of doctors coming probably from abroad to fill those gaps. So again, there could be an SA movement there as well. Other than that, I think student accommodation, as it always is potentially going to have a bit of a boom again this year because more lenders are moving into PBSA, which is purpose-built student accommodation. So there are now more lenders available for these blocks of apartments, for example, where they want to put students specifically in these blocks. So I think, again, there'll be a movement there as well. So that's kind of my predictions for 2025. I think we probably will see about 4 base rate drops, presuming that nothing major happens over the next sort of 3 to 6 months. And I think we'll see a lot more lenders lending on those niche deals and strategies. Hopefully, we'll see more lenders moving towards the creative strategies, so deferred payments, vendor finance, JVs with vendors, for example. Hopefully, we'll see more of those because at the minute we have a decent pool of lenders available for those. But I think it'd be nice just to see another half a dozen lenders just really grab the ball by the horns and say, right, we like these creative strategies. We can see the benefit of them. We're going to start to look to lend into those as well. So hopefully we'll see that movement a bit more in 2025 as well as that confidence continues to grow. And I think we'll see more lenders expanding funding lines as well and hopefully going into some slightly different products. So fingers crossed we see a bit of that in 2025. So that's my rundown of 2024 and my predictions for 2025. Thanks for listening. Catch you on the next one.